No work.
5.4 in your textbooks, page 285. We're talking about using points to determine the equation of a line. The goal is to determine the equation of a line given information about the related points. So again, we're using the formula y equals mx plus b, and we're given, in this case, 2 points in this section, and then we need to go from having these 2 points back to this equation of a line. So in the first question, this is example 1 on 285. It says a dog kennel charges $71 for 2 dogs and $113 for 5 dogs. So there's a room fee plus additional fee per dog if there is a room fee. What is the room fee if that's the case? So they're charging a flat rate to rent the suite and then additional money for the dog. So basically, we want to think of this, and this goes for most word problems. It's not all word problems in this section. You want to try and think of this as coordinate points, okay, and create 2 points. If you can get those 2 points, then we know we can use those 2 points to go back to the equation of line. We can use the equation of line to answer the original question. Okay, so that's the idea. So the other option, of course, is to make a graph. You could make a graph where you graph dollars on the y-axis and then number of dogs on the x-axis, and then you plot it, and then you try and answer the question with the graph. I, of course, prefer using equations. It's much quicker and much more accurate. Okay, so to do that, I say let y be the cost, and I say let x be the number of dogs. Remember, independent versus dependent. Y is the calculated value. X is the number of dogs we choose to put in the kennel. Okay, so that makes sense, right? X is going to be the number of dogs, and Y is going to be the cost. Well, if that's the case, then I can take this information and I can put it into 2 points. Okay, the first one, there's 2 dogs, it's $71. So the X point is 2, the Y point is 71. The other case, there's 5 dogs, X value is 5, and the cost is $113 as the Y value. Okay, any questions there? Once I have these 2 points, the method to get to the equation is the same. Okay, so you take a word problem, you put it into 2 points, and then you kind of work backwards to fill in the equation. So the first step is to calculate the slope. So in order to do that, we use the equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm just taking these values now. Again, it doesn't matter if you call this 0.1 or 0.2, as long as you're consistent in the way you do it, you would have been fine. Okay, if you wrote this one first and this one second, so called this one y1, x1, y1, x2, y2, it doesn't matter. Okay, doing that, we find out that the slope is equal to 14. Once we have the slope, we plug it into the formula. Y equals m, which is 14x plus b. We still have this unknown b. This is maybe the trickiest part in these questions. Once you get here, okay, sir, what do I do next? I don't know what the value of b is. You take either point, you can choose either point, and plug it in for x and y, and then solve for b. All right? In this particular case, I'm going to choose 271. The reason why is just because they're lower numbers. Okay, so it's easier. So I choose 2 for x and 71 for y. I plug those values in, 2 I'm plugging in for x, 71 for y, and then I calculate what b is. So I get 28, move it over to the other side, b is 43. Once I have b, I go back to the original equation and plug b in. Okay? It seems kind of cyclical in a way, but it's not, because you are using more information as you plug it in. Okay, then I get my equation of a line. 9 times out of 10, this will answer your question, the original question. You just got to think about it now. So we go back to the original question. It says, what is the room fee? Well, we can see that this is a changing rate, right? This cost changes with the number of dogs. We know x is the number of dogs. So we can very clearly see, I hope most of you can see that that's going to be their flat room fee, $43. Okay? There's a little bit of intuitiveness there to figure that out. Yeah?
How'd you get 14?
14 here?
Yeah.
113 minus 71 divided by 3.
Okay.
Okay?
So
Yeah, I found the slope here.
what does the slope represent in this type of situation?
The slope
Yeah.
is here.
What is
Is here.
represent?
It's the cost per dog.
Because like when you're looking at a line, you're looking at how steep it is, right?
Yeah. So if here's your line, right? Each dog. So these are your dogs, right here. Each dog that you go up, it's the cost amount that this line is rising up. So it's your slope. Okay? The 14 represent is the cost per dog. So I go one dog over, how much am I going up? So a more expensive kennel will have a steeper line. It's going to go up more cost per dog. You move over.
And you can figure out slope for almost anything, right?
Yeah.
Like information like that.
Right. That's the goal of this section, is you're taking information, converting it into 2 points, and then working backwards. Okay, example number 2. It says determine the equation of a line that has a slope of 4 and passes through 2, 6. Right away I know my m is 4. Okay, half the battle is won, right there. If I know m is 4, I'm going to plug that into this equation. Okay? So I've just plugged in 4 for m. Now I need to solve b. Well, I have a point, so I plug in that point. 2 for x and 6 for y, and solve for b. Alright? When I do that, I get b is -2. My equation is there. Done. Any questions? That's the easiest scenario where they give you the slope and a point. Next one says find the equation of line when slope is -1 over 3 and the same y-intercept as this. So my only step now is I need to find out what is the y-intercept here. So in order to do that, I rearrange this equation to be in the form y equals mx plus b. If I do that, I know b is going to be my y-intercept. So step 1, rearrange the equation to find y-intercept. So I do that work here. I find out that the y-intercept is 7 over 4. Once I know the y-intercept and my slope, I can plug that into my standard equation of a line, and I get my equation right here. -1/3 x plus 7 over 4. Any questions there? All right, number 4. It says find the equation of a line passing through 2 points. Now this is what we did in example 1. So it's a little bit easier because it's given us the points already. We don't have to let x and y be certain variables. Okay, once I do that, I figure out what my slope is using the equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I figure out that my slope is actually undefined in this case. So some of you might panic here and say, wait a minute, what do I put in for slope? That's okay, we know when the slope is undefined, we know it's a vertical line. Okay, we should know that. Okay, we know it's a vertical line. If it's a vertical line, I know that my equation for the line is going to be just an x value. What's the x value? Well, I go back to the points. What is my x value? It's 3. X is -3. Okay? And that's because I found out the slope first, and I said, oh, the slope's undefined, it's a vertical line. If you would have went to plot this first, you would have seen that right away. Matthew?
Okay, since the values are the same,
Yeah? Then it wouldn't be a vertical line. Right? Because if there's another x value, it would move that way or that way. Okay? It wouldn't be undefined. Right. Exactly. The only reason it's undefined is because these two x values are minusing each other. Right? On the denominator. Alright, example 5. Speed of sound at 10 degrees Celsius is this. At 21 degrees Celsius, the speed is this. So again, I'm taking a word problem and I'm putting it into coordinate points. I'm saying let y be my speed because we know it's calculated, and let x be my temperature because that's what's given. Alright, so if I do that, I get these 2 points. 10, 337.4, and 21, 344.3. Don't be intimidated because they're big numbers or they have decimals. The process is exactly the same. I'm just going to finish this example. So once I have those 2 points, I figure out my slope the same way. Once I have my slope, I need to find my y-intercept, so I plug it into this formula. I take either point, sub in for y and x, solve for b. B is this value, sub that into my original equation. Now I have the equation on line. I want to go back and answer the question, which is what is the temperature, what's the speed when we're at 32.3. I sub in 32.3 for my temperature and figure out my value of y, which that's my speed. All right.